Alright, hello everyone, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Before we go ahead and get into the video, I'm going to say a couple things. Whenever this video goes live, I will be streaming on Twitch. That link will be in the description, so feel free to check that out. Also, this is a really long episode, so I just want to go ahead and say that I do ramble a lot about items in this episode, but that is because people that are new to my channel, I want them to have an understanding as to why I choose these items and why I think these items will succeed. I don't want them just to willingly trust me, as I wouldn't willingly trust anyone that I randomly found on YouTube either. So take that into account, and hopefully you guys can understand that. But basically, I build these items off of a couple of assumptions. One is a player-based rise during the summer, which typically happens because, people don't have school and whatnot, and also an eventual bot nuke, which is just kind of the way the game works. JX destroys bots at one point, and then bots will slowly come back into the game, then they'll release something else, and at this point we're kind of hitting a point where there's a lot of bots in game, as you guys can see by the price of some things. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and get on into the video. Alright, now hello everyone, how are you guys doing? Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. A little bit of a different area. I was doing some Slayer last night. I decided I'd make this video kind of early. I've been thinking about it for a little while. So, if you guys are new to the channel and you guys haven't seen it in the past, it was a video that kind of blew up, but I've done some videos on what you should invest in the past, and I figure now is a good time as ever to go ahead and do another one, because I've noticed kind of a lot of things that I feel like I could share with you guys. Now, there is a lot that goes into this. I will start this by saying I'm invested currently 5 mil into one item, so it's not a ton. I'll tell you guys which item that is throughout the video. I'm not using this video to up the price, and I'll explain that later, because there was speculation that in the last video, that's what I was doing it for. Full disclosure, didn't have any of those items other than, just 100 Cerebrus in the bank that I legitimately use for, Slayer and stuff like that, along with Sharks or whatever. I mean, the stuff that's actually in your bank. I don't do these videos to go ahead and make money off of them, because it's really a scumbag thing to do, and I don't want to be seen as a scumbag, because I'm not one. But anyways, with that said, this video is going to be about explaining a few items that I feel are good to invest in. From there, basically, there is a lot of things I'll go ahead and talk about right now, and I'm going to do it in a form of a graph. The site that I'll be using throughout this video is GE Tracker. They're a sponsor of mine. They're in the description down below if you guys want to check out their site. Really helpful stuff. Figured I'd just say that just in case you guys had any questions, but let's go ahead and get on into some explanation. Alright, so basically I said that I wanted to go ahead and explain something before this video starts. I don't think that this video is going to blow up as big as the other one was. The other one had to do with the Inferno, so I was able to get a really good thumbnail. This one, it's just going to be a bunch of more random items kind of surrounding one thing, but also, having a few stray items in there. I just want to go ahead and show you guys what happens if a video of mine does blow up in right here. So this is when I released the last kind of merching video where I told you guys what to buy. Ceradome and Brews went from 7K to 8.3 within 2 days. So there's really two sides of this that can kind of happen. There's the people that get here really early and buy out whatever items that I say in the video, because apparently I have some sort of swing in the economy if the video blows up. Those people can get lucky and make money off of it. And then there are people that instead see the video around here and still decide to go ahead and buy into those items. So I'm going to go ahead and explain this really quickly. For all the items that I'll be talking about in this video, I'll put a cap price on them. For Cerebrus, I put 8.5K. So whoever was still buying them at this point, don't do that. Stop at the cap that I put on these items, or else you end up allowing these people to profit. That's the real problem with it. Now, they've steadily gone back up, so hopefully anyone that's still invested from here was able to get their monies back. But I just want to go ahead and let you guys know there will be people that try to profit off of this. Don't allow that to happen. Don't buy once they hit past or around the point at which I say they could go to, because that doesn't work. Basically, what I'd recommend you do is wait about a week. The video will die down. People will finally be like, all right, I've had enough of having all my money stocked into this one item just to try to profit off this video. They'll sell off, and in a week's time, you should be able to you should be able to have a good price to buy. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and say right away. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and get into some items. All right, and the first item of the video, raw sharks. So I'll go ahead and kind of explain a lot of these items. A few have to do with the same thing, but basically, I have no actual confirmation that there are bots. However, I've seen a lot of things on Twitter of people trying to report bots, and I mean, I guess, I don't know. I mean, I've been at Green Dragons a lot lately, on my noob account, and I have seen my fair share of bots. So I have a feeling that Jagex haven't done anything about bots in a while. Now, I do have my own theories on why, maybe. I feel like their bot detection thing, they can always kind of keep up with bots, but they may be doing it just to actually get that user base spike and show, like, hey, we have this many number of people. Or they could be doing it for the membership money. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. But basically, bots are a real issue and have been for a little while now. So, as you guys can see with the Raw Sharks last year, in May to June, as you guys can see, the price of Raw Sharks spiked. Now, this could be because of one of two things, and I did not mean to do that, but that's actually a really cool feature that they added recently. Is like you can do this, and like, oh, it's great. Anyways, as I was saying, basically, I don't know if this is the case every year because I don't have graphs to go back that far. But as you guys can see, at the beginning of the summer, I believe for most items, they actually do peak at the beginning of the summer because that's obviously when everyone gets out of school, player base starts to come back, so it makes sense. But with Raw Sharks right now, they're at like 720 GP, and that is extremely low for Raw Sharks. As you guys can see, even on the monthly scale, they were 820 at the beginning of the month, and now they're down to 730. Or 725-ish. Now, the thing with Raw Sharks is, I feel like they're a really good investment because there's no way that they go down that much. The most they're going to go down to, I would think ever Raw Sharks would hit would be 600 GP. And the most they can go up to, as you guys have seen in the past, pretty high. The reason I say 600 GP is because Monkfish come into the games pretty steadily, and like, I mean, just sharks will always have a pretty decent value over monkfish because of the, like, you know, the use that they're pretty much the best food everywhere for the cost that they are, if they fall that far. So I feel like this is a pretty safe investment. The lowest they'll go, I'd say, would be 600 GP. I mean, they've gone to 715, so you can go ahead and buy these pretty low. And the highest they would go, I would say, the highest you should buy these at, like, within a week of this video is 900. I wouldn't say that I have that much of an influence on the market to change this, because there are 3 million Raw Sharks bought and sold a day. And the GE cap on them is pretty low relative to, you know, how much you'd be able to buy. It'd be like a 10 mil worth in 4 hours, so the people aren't going to be able to stock up on this massively right away. So that's the first item. Just to go back on that, as I did say, monkfish are 500 GP, so I mean, Raw Sharks can't fall that much. Alright, so the next two items, obviously both to do with bots, as I've noticed that this is kind of just a general thing that's happening across the board. Nature runes have fallen in the last year from 320 to 220 pretty much GP, and that's, yeah, see, 223, like, you can get them pretty low. Yeah, 220, there you go. So, I mean, granted that that's a drop, and, I mean, you might have to pay 7 to 8 GP more. This is really low for what nature runes should be. Now, this could be because of a couple different things. Maybe it's because nature runes aren't that profitable anymore, or aren't that useful in magic training, but, I mean, they still should be holding a pretty decent price. It's not like anything crazy has happened over this amount of time. There's always been bursting and barraging in the game, so none of those are really going to come into effect. I mean, as far as nature runes go, they can't get that low. I'd say the lowest these things will ever hit would be 190-ish for nature rune, at least, you know, in the foreseeable future. Maybe 4 years down the line they might hit something lower. But that would be my ultimate low for nature runes, and realistically, I think that they could hit about 280. So, I mean, if you guys want to go ahead and take that risk, feel free. But as you guys can see, I mean, it has to go up eventually, and more than likely, whenever they decide to nuke bots again, would be the time for that to happen. However, I feel more confident about Raw Sharks. This is I mean, both of them are relatively low risk, and I feel like Raw Sharks can pay off more. But if you want to differentiate your items, go ahead and hit up nature runes. So with that said, we're going to go on into another thing, not nature impling jars. Wait, not nature implings, eclectics. So this is going to be what I go to now. Eclectics are a thing that I have seen in the past. I used to be invested in these really heavily if you guys saw my noob account, but since then I've sold off these, so don't try and say that I'm just like doing this for a little bit of money. As you guys can see though, I mean, these things have just plummeted. I mean, they're down to what? I think less than 3K now. They've hit 3.6 in the past. There is a reason, I guess, that these things could be really low, is because they are the main impling that you go to for medium clues, and medium clues aren't that profitable anymore in the sense that most pages have already come into the game a fair enough amount to where you're not going to be making a whole lot of money off of your other things that you get for medium clues. You'll only be making money off ranger boots, so that might deter people from actually doing this. But you do have to remember there are always going to be people that are doing masters and want to use implings to go ahead and get themselves the master clue. There's also going to be people that want to go for the medium clue reward at like 400 medium clues or whatever it is. So these things always hold a really good value. And realistically, they're really, really low right now. I mean, 2.9k is what you could get them at around here. I mean, they can drop to 2.95. I don't see these going any lower than like 2,700, and I think that they could peak back up to, I mean, obviously, yeah, I didn't even look at this yearly graph. Oh my god. They were 7k back then. I mean, granted, that's when they first came out and were like able to actually drop clues, but I mean, look at this. Like, they were even almost 4k just in February. So 2 months ago, they were 4k, and now they're 3. And the reason I think that these can go back up is because there's not a whole lot of money here. I'm imagining that bots are taking a lot of these up. If you go ahead and look at impling jars, like, this is the original money you're going to have to put into it. So, I mean, those are 3k. Impling jars also have dipped a ton. If you guys want to invest in that, feel free. But as you can see, they can go lower, but they have been higher in the past, like 1,100. But impling jars you can get for like 830, which means you're only making like 2.1k per eclectic, and there are a lot better gathering moneymakers than this one, I would imagine. So that's why I think, like, eventually once the bots get nuked there, I mean, there's not going to be a whole lot of people flocking to it, because the main reason people did eclectics in the past was because they were really, really good money at the time, like a mil plus. And now, I mean, they're nowhere near what they used to be. So I'm dying. So yeah, I'd put the cap on eclectics. I mean, realistically, I think that they could hit about 3,600 again. The lowest I think they'll go would be 2,750. So at most you lose 250 GP, and I mean, most you make probably 600. I mean, you could make more, but I'm just saying it as a realistic thing. I mean, even here, I mean, they can peak relatively decent if you get a good amount of them bought. So there is that as well. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys that, I mean, just anything that you guys see that can be botted, to go ahead and try to invest in those, because most items at this point have hit the relative low that they'll go, and they won't be going much more, because if so, bots will change to other items. I'm going to go ahead and just go to high volume items now and kind of just name off a few things I see just across the board right away. Alright, something I saw right off the bat, wyvern bones along with dragon bones reached about 2,800 per one. They used to hold about 3,300 GP area, and the main reason that those drop obviously is, I mean, you could say it's because there's no new prayers in the game other than the ones that have come out recently, but you also have to imagine that, I mean, as those prayer scrolls become lower and lower value, you'll have more people buying up bones than you did at the very beginning. Also on top of that, obviously a botted item, so you do have that to work with. But pretty much anything here that you guys see, I mean, anything that's a food, anything that can be botted, just use your imagination. If you buy the things that I've said in this video, just know you won't be getting maybe the best margin that you could get, because people will also be buying that same thing. If you can think of some of your own items, go ahead and do that. But yeah, don't come to me in game and like ask if these are good items, because I might get flooded with just questions of, is this a good item, is this a good item, is this a good item. Just ask yourself, are people botting this? If people are botting it, it's going to be a good item. I can pretty much promise you that, because they've all hit a relative low, and as JX does, they will eventually release a bot nuke, and even if that doesn't happen, you do have the summer months to come, which typically increases the prices of almost everything in the game. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a couple different items. So these are going to be a lot more of long shot items. Really just out there, like there's no guarantee on these. The other ones were pretty much guaranteed, and I would be able to put my money on it that these would actually be able to do something. Now, basically some items that I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys two items that I really think are decent investments depending on the time that you go ahead and buy them. This is giving you items that you can do in the future. One item maybe now, not this item. The next item maybe now. But basically, Pegasian crystals. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys kind of why I'm like hesitant on putting this in the video, but I still think that it's applicable. Stuff like this, and I'll give you guys another example so you guys can have an idea. basically with Pegasian crystals, like I don't have any clue as to why these would go up right now. There's really no reasoning other than I'm guessing that the price between Ranger boots and Pegasians, or like actual Pegasian boots, has gotten to the point where you can actually make money off putting Pegasians onto the boots and then selling them as Pegasian boots. But basically, if you ever see Pegasians drop to about 120k, which they've done quite often in the past month, as you guys can see. I mean, they only, like, maybe even 135k, which they were at just a little, about a week ago. Go ahead and invest in them, because if you guys see in the past, they do have times where they spike at random. Like, as you guys can see now, they've gone up to 250k out of literally nowhere. And back here, they hit 274. They were 83, literally just like a few months before. Back here on July 13th, and maybe this is due to some sort of summer thing. I'm not entirely sure, obviously, but they reached 500k. This is an item that if you can buy them for 100k, there's really no reason not to. If there's ever a change that happens in the game to Pegasian boots at all, these things should go up, because, I mean, they come into the game at the same rate as every other crystal. These crystals being 100k at times, while other crystals, even smoldering stones, are 1.5 mil. So if anything ever happens, you could get a 10 times profit, say, if they jump to a mil because of some update, or even at times where people just need Pegasians. An example could be the Inferno. People may be putting together Ranger boots with Pegasians because there may be a margin there, and then the price could just skyrocket to 400k like they've done in the past. So if you can ever find yourself a 100k margin on them, or buy them for 100 to 150k, I'd recommend doing that, because if you're willing to hold on to them, they will go up eventually. Like, if you're not doing anything with that money, don't plan on it. Maybe just go ahead and buy like 20 of them. I mean, it's only going to be 20, it's going to be like 2 to 3 mil of your money, and I mean, it could return 8 to 10 over time just by waiting. And so that's an item that I would recommend. There's really no low on them, as you guys see here, 83k. I mean, they have to hold some value because of people like me that would invest in them. But yeah, so that's something that I would consider. It's quite like the Dragon Axe in the past. The Dragon Axe hit really low, and then Wintertot came out, and they spiked like almost double what their price was. Before that, I'd actually thought about investing in them. I didn't, so I kind of screwed myself, but it's kind of the same thing where if anything happens, you're going to make money. And now on to the last item of the video. So, full disclosure, as I said earlier in the video, I am invested in this actual item, so, I mean, just understand that I'm not going to abuse this like this. If you guys don't believe me, you guys can check out my Noob with the Mill series. There will be a video up within the next week where I still have them on my account, and probably into this foreseeable future. I've bought 400 for about 5 mil. I don't plan on selling them, if you guys don't want to believe me. I mean, there's no way I can convince you at this point. But, well, I guess if I was going to actually sell them, I wouldn't have told you that I had them. So, hopefully you believe me. But basically, I feel like this was just a terrible update on JX's part, because, I mean, I feel like they thought that the staff was going to have more of a use in game other than just for Iron Men that don't have a trident, where it kind of makes me think at some point they might change this. Like, I understand that the Slayer's enchantment is a drop that you can get from Wilderness Slayer Master, and the Wilderness Slayer Master doesn't have high requirements, so anyone, I mean, like, any level can go out there and do it. But the difference that you guys have to kind of consider is, like, I mean, I think that these things could just hit 100k just off of some random thing that JX does. Now, if JX doesn't do anything to change these, I don't see their price going below 5k, really, because people will stop doing this. But I also don't see their price hitting that high of a peak, since the staff is relatively useless. So you guys have to go into this understanding this is a pretty high risk one compared to the other ones, but I think could be high reward. If they decide to change these by just in any way, they could peak at 100k, and then you get 10 times your profit. However, I would say if they never touch this item again, you're probably going to maybe get your money back or lose a few k per scroll. But, I mean, ultimately, I think it's really worth it, because I think that they didn't think that this would bomb that bad. Now, obviously, as I said earlier, anyone could go out in the wilderness and start killing some Slayer monsters for these, but you have to consider that, like, no one's going out of their way now to kill them for this. Maybe if they hit 100k, some noobs would go out of their way to train Slayer in the wilderness, but I don't even know if 100k would be convincing enough to get someone out there. Like, just go kill some green dragons or something. So, yeah, I mean, it seems relatively safe as far as, like, what you could profit off of these compared to what they actually are at now. As you guys can see in the beginning, I guess, I mean, if we go farther back, Okay, we can't go farther back. Originally, when they came out, they were like 200k, so, I mean, they could potentially hit that high if they actually gave a use for this wand, if they actually gave a use for this staff, but I do understand that that's an item that just came out, so obviously it's going to have a higher price. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing I can really say that can convince you that this will happen. I have no clue if it will. I feel confident about the other items. This one, however, is a total crapshoot, so if you guys want to go ahead and be involved, buy some. If not, fully understand, because there's no guaranteed return here. So that'll be it for me today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure to leave a like. If you guys want to see more of these videos in the future, make sure to tell me about it in the comments down below. I know that this helps some people, but oh Jesus, I'm gonna die with my pet. No, back up, back up, back up. Oh God. Okay, we're alive. But yeah, if you guys want to see this earlier, go ahead. If you guys want to see more of this, go ahead and comment about it down below. If you guys have any kind of critiques you want to make on the items or items that you would invest in, I mean, you can comment it. I wouldn't say that you should tell other people what item you're going to invest in if it isn't any one of these, but feel free if you want. Also, if you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe, and Twitter in the description. So, and nonetheless, hope you guys have a wonderful